Welcome to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting, sewing, crafty podcast, vlogcast channel. No idea what episode we're on. We're in the 20s. And welcome back to any of my regular viewers and hello to anybody new. Today we have lots of finished objects. That never happens. So I'm very excited. So let us begin. I feel like there should be more that I say, but I can't remember. Oh well. Finished objects. No, let's not say that. Let's go backwards. What I'm wearing. What I am wearing is my Felix pullover. This is a pattern that you've seen all over the internet, I'm sure. It's by Savory Knitting or Amy Christoffers. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I would say Christoffers, but everyone else says Christoffers and I'm not sure why. So, she has a cardigan and a sweater pattern. So this one is knitted in Lettlopi. I think it's actually the recommended yarn and colour that she has in the pattern. So it's the rust colour and not really sure what else to say about it because it's ages ago since I knitted it. It's actually about a year ago because I knitted this because I was going to the dentist and I was really scared. So I wanted a comfort knit and I made this in like a week and a half or something. And it was my comfort knit during a filling. Anything else I can say? I remember that I was learning the Norwegian purl and my neckline came out massive with the purl and knit stitches for the rib, so I had to add some elastic through it, some stretchy elastic thread to bring in the neckline. Sometimes you can see the pink because it's a luminous pink, but it now looks better, I think. I can already see in my viewfinder how much shadow is happening. That is because every single day that I record, it's the cloudy day, and then the days after and before are really sunny. So I have a lamp right above my head, which is just casting shadows, and it's incredibly unflattering, but what can you do? So, apologies. Actually, I'm taking back the apology because I find it very bizarre when people say that they're sorry for the lighting or they're sorry for certain things because it's not their fault. And I am never watching a YouTuber and thinking, oh, your lighting, oh, it's terrible. So this is life, this is what's happening, so said lighting is happening. Anyway, moving on. I can see my end. I always keep this end here so I know which side is the front of my sweater. What else am I wearing? I'm wearing a dress that you can't see. It has kangaroos on it. To my memory, this is a combination of the Hinterland dress and the Rosary dress because I can't get the Hinterland dress to fit me at all. I don't understand why, but no matter what size I do, it's so tight. And I've made lots of other patterns and I don't have this issue, so it's not like I don't understand the seam allowance or something. It doesn't fit, and I don't understand how it's such a popular dress and no one else seems to have this issue. So it kind of has to be me, but I don't know how. But anyway, I mashed it up, turned it into this dress, which, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty comfortable. Yeah, I feel a bit really weird today, I'm not sure why. Don't know, I probably shouldn't be recording when I can't seem to string sentences together, but alas. Oh, in my viewfinder I can already see another what I'm wearing and it is a finished object. Don't know how well you're going to see it. A bit of a weird angle. This is, and I left my notes over there. What are you? This is the Renga Beret. It is by someone, I can't pronounce her name, so I'll put it here. Rita, I can get that far, but her surname, no. It's a pattern from a website that is glorious. It is filled with free patterns, paid for and free patterns. They are all Novita. I haven't got any yet ball bands or anything. Novita is a yarn company in Finland. Oh gosh, is it Norway or Finland? I'm pretty sure it's Finland. I'll put it here. And they have amazing patterns on their website, and I've saved a bazillion of them, so one day I will go through them one by one. Some of them are really complicated, so don't know if I'll actually do them, but they're so beautiful. Anyway, this one was a free pattern for a beret, and it uses Novita Icelandic wool, that's what it's called. It's called Mushroom. I have the ball band. It's a Pilz or Steinpilz colour. It doesn't actually tell me, it just says 663, but I'm pretty sure it was Steinpilz colour. It is really soft. It's Icelandic wool and yet it's soft. And it's not superwash. I had to spit splice the ends together when I did 2 balls and it worked, and you have to wash it by hand, and it's, yeah, Finland. It's Finland. It's Finnish yarn. And yeah, it's really nice. It's the recommended yarn. I was going to play around with what I have, but then I loved this colour, and it was the one that they were wearing. As you can see, I really like this colour. I love Icelandic yarn, and basically I didn't need pushing very far to buy new yarn. It's not expensive, so that's a bonus. I do have this much left, which I think was 35 grams or something, and I have absolutely no idea what to do with it now. Maybe some kind of colour work, I can add that in. I've learnt now that I can't get gauge, like that's just a thing now. You'll see that in my upcoming projects. I swatch and then I get completely different results, and I've realised this is an issue because when I swatch, if it's in the round, then you have to swatch in the round, but I will do the first half of the stitches, then carry the yarn around the back and knit that row, carry the yarn, because otherwise I'm basically knitting a huge tube. And if I'm going to put that much effort into making something like this big of a tube, I might as well just knit the project and rip it out if I don't like it, for the amount of energy I'm putting in. So I do the trick that a lot of you guys do, it, knitting and then pulling the yarn around and washing it and laying it out, and I always come off like 2 stitches different. Like, for example, I get 18 stitches in this swatch. When I knit the actual project, I get 20 stitches. And if I do colour work like that, I go 2 stitches more. And it's so confusing. And I did this several times on several projects, doing different yarn, different needles, different yarns, different things. This is a really long ramble, but basically I've now realised every time I do a swatch, it doesn't give me at all the same results. And if I did a swatch that was on small circulars, then that gives me a different result to if I did magic loop, to if I did needles, so like the neckband size of needles, to if I did the body. Completely different all the time. And I keep getting 20 stitches for yarn that should be 18 stitches in 4 inches 10 centimeters. It's always 20 instead of 18, and I keep going up and down needles, constantly trying to get this 18 stitches, and when I think I've got it, my swatch says you're all good, I then knit the thing and I get 20 stitches. But I can't go up any more needles because then you have a yarn that needs say 3.5, recommended 3.5 or 4mm needles, and then I'm trying to use 6mm to get 18, and it's all gappy, it looks horrible. So yeah, I'm having a bit of an issue here because I seem to be a tight knitter now. I know if you've been watching this for a while, then you'll know that my colourwork knitting is tight, like uber tight, ridiculously tight for some reason, which I can't understand either, because I don't even put tension on my yarn. I literally lay it over my finger and just pick it up. I don't wrap it around or anything. I don't pull. So bizarre. And when I was an English style knitter, I was always on gauge. It was great. I never knew about gauge, but then now that I have changed knitting styles and it's been 2 and a bit years since I learned to knit, I've now measured some of them and they're all on gauge, even though I never like did any gauge swatch. And then I went into continental, or I think it's technically Norwegian, and it was so loose, it was ridiculous. I can show you an example of that in a minute. And now I seem to be tightening up, and it's causing issues because now the yarn doesn't match the needles. And but if I knit flat, which I've been doing for my vintage knits, then I'm so loose I have to go down several needle sizes. This rant went on for too long, but I'm feeling very frustrated with gauge, as you will see. So, first finished object is this one. I've talked about that. Second finished object, I will show you. I can't put it on because it's for my mum and it doesn't fit me. But here's another gauge situation. But it's done and I'm really happy. Isn't it glorious? I haven't woven in the ends. It has been blocking and I just need to, the ends, they're all woven in, but I watched Andrea Mowry and she said that she cuts them after she's blocked them, so I just for some reason decided to start doing that. And here it is. This is my Into the Wild pullover or sweater or jumper by Tania Barley of the Wool Barrow. I have made this before and I had major gauge issues. Shocking, I know. And I went for a different yarn this time because originally I made mine, which was going to be my mother's, in Lettlopi, and I could not get gauge at all. It was, I think I knitted size 4, and when I measured the yoke, I was getting a yoke of size 1. So then I ended up knitting it for myself, and it's actually a project, a finished item that I'm contemplating ripping out, not the yoke, but the arms and this bottom part. I just can't bring myself to rip out Lettlopi and re-knit it. That's going to be really difficult. Equally, I never wear it because it has a size 1 here, and then somehow the rest of it in plain stockinette ended up being a size 4, and it's cropped so it sticks out like this, and the sleeves are huge, and yeah, I'm not loving that. I never pick it up because if I'm cold enough to wear Lettlopi, then I don't want short sleeves or cropped. And the colour, although really nice and very foresty, doesn't go with anything that I own. None of my dresses. Like, I don't really wear jeans, they just look weird on me. I keep trying to wear jeans, but I don't know, they're so unflattering. So I don't know what to do. I thought about just cutting the sleeves. Because it's Lettlopi, it's unspun, so you should just be able to stick it back together. But I'm also thinking that it's been blocked, so it's probably all stuck together anyway. I don't know, have any of you guys ripped out a Lettlopi jumper? And was it successful? Please let me know in the comments or message me on Instagram, because I'm really thinking about it, but I don't want to start and then realise you can't do that, and then I really can't ever wear this sweater because at the moment it's just my yoga sweater that I put on at the beginning, and when I get hot I take it off. Anyway, because of that I couldn't give it to my mum, so I had to make another one. Well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to. So I chose a different yarn. And what confuses me in the pattern is that if you look at the pattern specifications, it'll say DK weight yarn, yada yada yada. But if you read it, say on Ravelry, it'll tell you it's a worsted weight pattern. So it's knitted to the gauge of worsted using DK weight yarn, but in my opinion, single Lettlopi is fingering weight. So I have no idea how anyone gets gauge, but I've banged on about that last time. So this time I got Ullcentrum 3-ply, and I gauge swatched and all was fine. I was a little bit off and I did some calculations, so it was going to be okay. And then, as I just explained, it wasn't. It turns out that I was using 4mm, and I did 3.75 I think for the rib. Then I went to 4mm and it looked really nice. Then I did 5mm I think for the yoke, and the gauge was not working at all. It was coming out way too small. So then I did 5.5, that didn't work. Then I did 6. That still gives me 20 stitches in 10 centimeters. And if this stockinette is 20 stitches in 4 inches, 10 centimeters, 20 stitches, even though it should be 18. And this is 20 stitches on 6mm. And it should be, yeah, it should actually be 17 for the pattern, but 18 for the yarn. But alas, I don't love the colour work because it's quite open. I don't know how much you'll see. You can see like where the floats, all the floats behind that you catch. At the very bottom, I got just fed up of carrying 3 colours, I think, and I just did really long floats, and it really bothers me now. But hey, the problem with having such a loose colourwork yoke is that when you need to weave in the ends, if you weave it in anywhere that isn't the same colour, then it sticks right through. So I wove in some of the orange somewhere around here, and it just pokes straight through and you can see it. So that was a bit frustrating. And I'm also annoyed because I knitted the size 5 to give me the size 4 because my gauge, but it's actually come out smaller. It's like exactly bang on the nose, 42 inches across. My mum's bust is 42, so I really don't want it to stretch, because then that'll stretch this and then it'll look a bit rubbish. I think the body should fit around her waist, but then her hips are wider. And I'm so used to making cropped sweaters and I don't have wide hips. And so jumpers just fit. I don't really have to think about it. But my mum has like this shape. So when it fits in the middle, it won't fit on her hips. So I actually did a split hem, which I haven't woven and cut off the ends. I did a split hem so that it should at least hopefully open up if it is too tight. But the problem is, because I originally purchased yarn for size 4, I didn't have enough for size 5 in yarn requirements. Actually, technically, I think it was 800, I think I needed 780 meters and I had 800, but it doesn't fit. It was supposed to be 15 inches from armpit to the length she wanted, and the pattern is 14 and a bit inches, but I've only managed 13, so it's 2 inches less than she wanted, and I'm a little bit nervous about that because she's definitely somebody who is more practical than me. She wants a woolly jumper that will keep her warm, shockingly enough, and will cover the important bits and cover a bit of her bum. And she always talks about her kidneys. I have to keep my kidneys warm. So very wise mother, but I'm afraid I didn't manage that. And I ran out of yarn, and I can't order more because it wouldn't get here by the time she gets here, which is Saturday. She's coming to visit on Saturday, and the yarn store that I got it from don't work on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I think they're only open for 3 days, and so they wouldn't even receive the order until, what is it, until Thursday. So it's not going to get here in time, and then the colour lot would most likely be different. But like, if she puts it on and she's like, I'm never going to wear this because it's too short, then I will order it and post it or bring it with me whenever I visit, and we'll have to unpick the ribbing and add a couple of inches. I really hope that we don't have to do that, but we might have to do that. But in general, other than the issues that I'm aware of because I knitted it, I think it's really beautiful. I'm just really nervous it's not going to fit. Or if it fits, it might not fit in the way that she wants it to fit, because it might be too tight. But I don't know. And the sleeves came out, even though I'm very confused. I think when I knit on the smallest cable I have with my Chiagus, can't remember what it is. It's not the shorties, because I can't use them now that I knit with my left hand, but it's the shortest cable, and I have 4-inch needles, so it makes like a sleeve size. But if I knitted that exact same sleeve magic loop, it would come out drastically smaller, much tighter. She has a lot bigger arms than me, so I'm hoping that that fits on me. It looks ridiculous and just huge, but yeah, she's bigger than me, so I really hope it fits. And it's really long, but she told me her measurements of her armpit to wrist, and that's the correct length. So I'm assuming, because the bust, if I put it on, it just hangs down here, but because she has an actual bust, it brings it up. That I'm going with this because the other cardigan I'm going to show you in a second, that's exactly what happened. So I'm just assuming that's going to happen. So yes, here it is, and it's beautiful, and I'll try and get some pictures for when she visits and add them to my next video. Colorways, I believe, because lots of you asked me on Instagram, this is grass green, or green grass. That's just, yeah, white. This one is Hillersvag, or Hillersvag, Vida. I think I'll write it down below. I think I wrote it in my last episode, not my what I'm packing for Italy vlog, but the one before that. But I'll try and put it in again. So yes, finished object number 2. Finished object number 3 is another project you saw last time. Another one I was having a bit issues with. I think that, like, if you are new, then I make a lot of mistakes. I have a lot of issues, but I'm enjoying it and I'm learning, and hopefully you are enjoying vicariously getting my mistakes so that you don't do them. Anywho, which is the right way around? Here. This is my Humlebi Shawl by Fibre Tales. It is knitted in Drops Soft Tweed, and the last time I said to you it's like the colour Nature, which is completely wrong. I don't know where I got that from, and now that I'm saying it I actually can't remember what it is. It's not Nature, by the way. you'll see what colour it is if you see it on the screen. It was probably like Natur or something, but I don't know where I got that from. Yes, so you can probably see the big mistake. I added extra stitches because the gauge was wrong, and it was 4mm needles. I just did the needles recommended, and it came out a bit like, I don't know, now it seems alright, but it is a bit loose. And I thought I'll add some extra stitches because I'd seen a lot of people did that. But for some reason I've done that and it looks super weird. Like whoop, a really weird shape. And I had the usual mistake that I apparently have. I made this shawl before and I made a mistake, and I kept an eye out for it, and then I did it again, but I caught it before I really did the same mistake. That I basically, there's a central line that goes through the middle, and you have to have a certain amount of stitches on either side, and I was completely off. Somehow I lost them and added them and moved them around so that the spine would end up going like this. I don't have a clue what mistake it is I'm doing, but I did it twice, and then several times I caught myself having too few on one side and too many on the other. And so throughout the side, I get a bit confused by construction because you cast on all the stitches. It's like 400 and something stitches with a picot edge. And yeah, as you continue knitting, it somehow ends up being like the longest piece. You end here, and I don't understand how it works. But that's just me being silly. So anyway, yeah, I went wrong. I added these extra stitches, and then because I got incredibly confused with the numbers, I misread the pattern, and I ended up with this huge section of ribbing where, not ribbing, this section, when I should have gone straight into the bees around here. So it doesn't bother me because it doesn't really look like, if you didn't have a reference point you wouldn't know necessarily that it went wrong. But it did mean my stitch count was off, and then my stitch count was off for this whole section and then completely off for the rest. But I did manage to get my bees in. So it's delightful. I don't know if I can wear it because my hair is going to get stuck, but we'll try. That classic old don't know how to wear my shawl situation. I really like the idea. I did it once and it looked amazing, and I pulled it down and it was marvellous, but I've never been able to do it since. But there we go. I think a more woolly wool would make it like more, obviously more warm, and the stitches would melt a bit more together, and the beads might be more like you could felt the little bottoms and make them stick out a bit more. But my mum would never wear something super scratchy, which brings me back. Rewind. This is a really rustic Swedish wool, and it's beautiful and I love it. But you might recall that a while ago I said to you I wouldn't give my mum a jumper in rustic wool. She'd need superwash. I got a skein of Cascade 220 and I just did not like knitting with superwash wool. So sorry Mum, you're getting rustic wool. But this one is going around her neck and much more closer to her skin. So I don't think this is superwash. I'm not really sure. It doesn't say on it. It does say to wash by hand in 30 degrees. And it's alpaca and wool. So I'm not sure. But it isn't itchy, so that's nice. Yeah, I really like it. I actually really wanted to make myself another one in this colour because it's so neutral. And can't believe I'm using that word because I'm such a non-neutral person. But I really struggle to match my clothes because everything has a pattern. Everything has animals on, or everything's green or everything's blue, and then nothing goes together. And I think this is really nice. So I'm kind of tempted to get some more Ullcentrum wool and make another one. I have one in a rusty orange, so it does actually go well with my hat. But I don't know, I really like it. I'll keep it on for a little bit because I'm gifting it away on Saturday. I haven't decided if to wrap it up and give it to her for Christmas because I can't show it on Instagram and I can't show it anywhere. But then giving her a present early just because I want to put it on Instagram seems really silly. So I'm not sure what I'll do. We'll see. What else? Did I do any other mistakes? I actually got some blocking pins when I was in the UK. You might remember if you've seen my previous video. Yes. And I got a yoga mat from downstairs that's an old one because I keep wanting to buy blocking mats. They're so expensive and they're just basically kids' play mats, and I don't know why they cost so much because they're just foamy, plasticky. Nah. So I'm using an old yoga mat and I actually blocked this. You can actually see the individual picot edge of this, and my one, you wouldn't know all the effort that I made to make these little picot bits. They're completely wasted, you can't see them on mine, so I might actually block mine again and try and pull it out a little bit. I'm also curious to see how much bigger this one is in comparison to that one, because this one came out bigger, which it should have because I added extra 20 stitches to it. But yeah, I'm very curious. Anything else? Don't think so. Next finished object is kind of cheating because it's been finished multiple times and then changed. I won't bang on about it because you've already heard about it and seen it, but it's finally done. This is my Maja cardigan. I feel like you've already automatically clicked off because you're fed up with hearing about it, but I promise I won't talk too much about it. I made this for myself. It was my first colourwork project. What did I just hit? Ah, the buttons. It was my first colourwork garment knitted project and I was really impressed with myself. I did the sleeves, but it was the first time I had done colourwork in the round, and I pulled really tightly at that rust colour, so it cinched in. So after I saw this, I did a bit more of a better job here, but then I did it again when I got to this one. So it was kind of difficult to put my arm in. And then when I did put it on, it was so big because I thought that this was too tight because of my gauge, when actually it wasn't. It was just poor colour workmanship. So I think this was 4.5 millimeters, and when I did the body I went up to 5, and then it made the row gauge much longer. So I also think I did the wrong size. I think I did small instead of extra small. So basically the yoke comes down to here, and when you it's like bat wings. It was really badly fitted to my body, and I was trying to wear it as a jacket, but then I couldn't fit any jumpers underneath because the arms were too tight. And when my mum visited in May, I asked her to put it on just to see if she could cope with the Lettlopi itchiness for her jumper that I wanted to make her. And when she put it on, it looked so good, and as I said earlier, she put it on, and instead of having this down here, it went right up into her armpit, stretched across her bust, and looked really nice. The only issue she has is it's too short. I'm not ripping that out, and she said she could cope possibly, so we'll see. I'm gonna give it to her on Saturday and see what she thinks. Kind of tempted to try and coerce her into buying some high-waisted jeans or something high-waisted that would cover her kidneys. And anyway, she did say I can't wear it with those sleeves because her arms are bigger. So I did something that in hindsight, if this should happen again, I'm not doing it this way, but I wanted to do it out of curiosity. The pattern is knitted from here and up, and then you like, merge it all together. I can't really remember. It's a free pattern. It's very good. Helena Magnusson, definitely check it out. I cast on from here and went up, and I could have just unraveled it all, put my needles in and knitted down, but I was interested how one would like graft two pieces of knitted fabric together in the round, which is basically like toe of a sock, but slightly different in the needle arrangement. So that was why I wanted to do it. I thought it'd be interesting, and I have some colourwork socks that went wrong, and I'd like to, for the future, should that happen again, have like a knitting technique that I could do to save day. So that was good. But my Kitchener stitch was really, it looks awful. It looks worse on one sleeve than the other, but I'm hoping that over time the Lettlopi will just like fuzz up and cover it up, and you're not really going to notice unless you're looking, except on this sleeve. Because this one I had, oh gosh no, that's the good sleeve. This one I had the issue where hearing noises. I had the issue here where the Lettlopi basically turned to Plutolopi after ripping it out, and then it just disappeared, disintegrated into nothingness when I was trying to weave in the ends with the Kitchener. Weave in the ends? When I was trying to Kitchener it together, it just separated and then dropped stitches, and I was trying to save them, and yeah, it made some bulky weird patches. But again, unless you're really actively looking, I don't think you're gonna know. So hopefully this will now fit, and she will have two lovely warm jumpers for the winter, because we all know the doom and gloom of the world, which I'm not going to talk about because this is a happy place, a place of nice things and no doom and gloom. But I'm just preparing my mother for the doom and gloom. So this is basically an episode of my mum's stuff, because this is hers, and the sweater is hers. So she will get these, and I will try and make another one of these, but not the same colours. And I'm kind of tempted to use the Ullcentrum because it's really nice, but I'll decide later. And I'm getting a bit warm now because I can't get out of it. Okay. So yes, they're finished objects. Whips. I didn't get very far. If you watched my last video that I uploaded, it was about what I'm packing for Italy, and I did pack my Humlebi, which was marvellous. It was great entertainment for the airplane. But then I also packed 3 other projects, and did I touch them? No, not a single time. I didn't do anything on them, and I haven't touched them since I got back because I was plugging away on the sweater, getting the sleeves and the body done, and then I realised I hadn't done the Maja Cardigan sleeve that I procrastinated because I did the first one like a month ago, and I was like, I'm definitely going to do the next one. And then I didn't, and then I realised, oh my god, I've got to do it like now. So I spent all my time on that, and then I wanted to make my hat because it's getting a bit chilly now. And although it's not cold enough for a hat, I still didn't own a hat, and I'd made one hat that I think I talked about in my first episode. Could be second, not really sure when I talked about it, but it was basically a We Are Knitters petite wool cabled hat, and it just got enormous and you could put it over my whole head. And I have to rip that out, but I'm still trying to figure out what to use the yarn for, because I don't really use bulky yarn anymore. And I've got 2 blue, 1 orange and 1 pink, and I don't know what to use them for. And then I made another hat for my husband, the same pattern. No, it wasn't, it was a Brussels sprouts hat. I made him that. He doesn't really wear it because it's too itchy. but it doesn't really suit me. And I'm not sure why, because it's green and I usually suit green. Anyway, I then made another hat, which was pink, but it was from this acrylic yarn that was left over from a project, and it's cold, it doesn't fit, it's just pants. So finally, I finally have a hat for the winter that's super warm, and I'm now taking back what I said, because I'm getting quite warm and it is a little bit itchy. But it's really warm and nice, so it's fine. What else? So I haven't got any whips to show you, because I finished yesterday. They're all done. Let me check my notes. Okay, I've made the grand decision. I can't believe I'm going to do this, because it's me. Going to frog a project. And it's a project that has caused me a lot of pain, which is basically the reason I don't want to frog it. A while ago, I have no idea now, maybe 3 months ago, maybe more, I really wanted to do a project that had purling in it. And I actually don't mind purling. The actual physical purl stitch, it doesn't bother me. The problem is, well, the problem has always been that it makes my knitting really loose, because I can't quite get the tension right. But the main issue is pain. And I used to do English style knitting, and that was the worst pain doing the purling. Then I swapped over and did Norwegian, and that caused such loose stitches and pain. Then I did Eastern or Russian purl, but then you have to change your knit stitches on the other side. Because I usually do lace patterns, that was confusing me. And then I learned just the normal continental. That gives me the least amount of pain, but it still gives me pain. So it changes my gauge and it gives me lots of pain, and yet I wanted to do a project. So I did the Felix cardigan. I cast that on. And I have mentioned it before, but yesterday I was looking at it and I just thought, what am I doing? This is so painful to knit and it looks awful. Why am I doing this? It's knitted in this lovely yarn. I'm saying lovely because it feels nice and looks nice, but it's actually horrible to purl with. Focus, please. It's the Retrosaria Pomar yarn. And it's very, very sticky. It's very rustic and sticky yarn, and I'm struggling so much to purl with it. It somehow like gets stuck. I have to drag it with my finger to tighten it more than I usually would, and it doesn't look good, and then it just hurts basically. The end thing is it hurts me. And the gauge of this sweater is quite loose, and it does say that in the pattern, but it looks awful in this yarn. And it's a single ply yarn, which means it's not as sturdy, and I just think I'm going to wear this once and it's going to get a hole. So I did a pretty decent amount. You can't really see it. Here is the sleeve, not sleeve, the beginning of the sleeve. It's yeah, here we go. Can you kind of see where we're going? But I think I might run out of yarn, because I have 2 sleeves, the whole body and the neckband, button band to go, and I've only got this much yarn, and I think I'm going to run out. And I've got my ring stuck. If you look at it up close, and I'm going to try and show you, hopefully it focuses. Can you see that? Like I can basically stick my fingers straight through. It's so loose and I really don't like it. I did think about blocking it, but again, like the Lettlopi situation, it's so sticky. I'm worried how I'll actually get it out, especially when washed. and I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn, and basically I just keep looking at it and thinking, oh, I really need to make a decision, knowing I've made the decision, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to rip it out. But for some reason yesterday I looked at this and thought, I don't like it. I don't like you. I'll never wear you because I'll never finish you. And if I do wear you, I'm going to stick my fingers through and make holes. So I'm going to rip out. So that was my other my other whip that I have. That is no more. Well, it will be no more by the time this is uploaded because I don't like it. I thought about trying it again but adding some mohair, but again, I don't think there's enough yarn. So it was actually going to be in the Tracer sweater, but that's knitted on 5.5mm and is super open, so it probably needs to be knitted on like 3mm, which means I won't have enough yarn at all for a sweater. So it's going to probably be separated into like a colourwork yoke and use it in there, maybe in some mittens, maybe in a hat. Like it's going to be distributed because I'm not knitting anything flat with that yarn. I don't think I want to knit a whole sweater in that. Like it's really nice and rustic, I'm sure it's warm, but it's really hard for me personally to knit with that yarn. Okay, that is done. And technically another finished object I will show you now. And then I'll just do some general life chatting blah blah, and then that'll be it. I dyed up some yarn. I grew, let's try that again. I tried to grow some carrots on my balcony and they're like this big. And it's 6 months I was growing these and watering them, and the amount of water that I used just does not, oh, just thinking about it. I just wasted so much water and money for the water. Watering all these plants that just did not want to have life. So I took the carrot tops and I thought at least maybe I can get some yarn, like yarn dye out of the carrots. We ate the carrots, but yeah, they were like this big, so it wasn't a huge meal. And I took the carrot tops and I cooked them, and then I added this yarn to it. It's not an amazing colour because it's not really yellow. It's kind of got green hints, but it's also not white, it's not cream. And I was humming and hawing and I didn't really like it. And I posted it on Instagram and Stone Knits messaged and said, don't over dye that. I have a new pattern coming out and that is exactly the right colour. So I'm holding out, keeping it, because she tells me that I'm going to like the pattern and it's the right colour. So this is a sock yarn, so I will be using this on her socks potentially. But yeah, looking at it, it's not a fantastic colour, but I have faith in Stone Knits because she's amazing. And her book, I pre-ordered her book, 25, I don't know the name, Charming Socks, 25 Charming Socks. It's already out, but I'm waiting on the book to be delivered. Like it was technically out in Europe, but then doesn't actually get delivered to anyone until about the 6th of October or something like that. So I'm waiting patiently. Anyway, yes, here is my hand-dyed yarn, technically a finished object. Okay, so that is all my knitting and knitting blah blah. I will just do a little quick life chat update for anyone who's interested. If you're not, fair enough. Thank you for watching. And if you are, here we go. As you may recall, I went to Italy last week, the week before. I went to Italy with my husband and his family. It was not a holiday I would have chosen, but I like to think of it as ticking off another German experience, because as an expat living in Germany, you know, you have to do things that German people do, get into the life a little bit. I mean, I've got my Birkenstocks and my Birks and socks look, so, you know, I fit right in. But the experience that German people often have every year is they go camping. They go to another country with a bunch of other Germans and all camp together, and they have a whale of a time. I'm not very good at camping. Admittedly, it was more like glamping because my husband's parents rented out a small house-ette, like a chalet, that my husband and I and his brother and wife stayed in, and yeah, it was different. I did a lot of knitting on my Humlebi Shawl, and I did wear everything that I talked about in my last video, which was what am I packing, and I wore it all my handmaids. I went in the sea for the first time in 10 years maybe, and before that I hadn't been in the sea since I was about 8. The last time I went in the sea I was in New Zealand, so that was fun. Yeah, I really don't have much to say. We went to Venice. It was fun. It was really stressful. It was so busy. It was very, very touristy. But in the evenings it was really nice, and we found a really good pizza place. The pizza was very nice and the ice cream was nice, and found an organic food shop, so that was delightful and saved me. I went to Venice when I was 18, I think. I didn't love it. I went there with a friend. We were travelling around Europe and we met some people, and they said, oh, you don't need to book in advance to go to hostels, just show up and you'll be fine. These were the days. This is how old I feel. We didn't have apps. We didn't even have mobiles, really. Like, we had a mobile, but you couldn't use it because it would cost too much to use a mobile abroad. And you didn't have laptops that were carry aroundable. And that doesn't sound quite right. There were internet cafes that you went to if you wanted to use the internet or to book a hostel or to look up anything. So we would go either in a hostel, we would book the next hostel using the hostel computers, or you would go to internet cafe and book your next hostel. But yeah, basically we didn't have mobiles, and laptops weren't something an 18-year-old would have then that you would travel around with. And we were told, don't bother, just rock up and you'll find somewhere. And we got to Venice and we didn't find anywhere, and we ended up in a nunnery. We ended up getting sent there by somebody in the street. We asked loads of people. We'd been to loads of hostels and they were all full, and somebody in the street said, go to that nunnery and they'll take you in for the night. It was bizarre. They didn't speak any English, we didn't speak any Italian, and they couldn't comprehend quite what was going on, but one of the nuns called a different nun and she could speak a bit of English, so my friend was talking to her and then passing the phone back to the other nun. So it was agreed that we would stay for one night in their lodgings, and it was an interesting experience. And then the next morning we had to get up at 6 a.m. for our piece of bread and a glass of water, and then we left, and it was very bizarre. Now I look back at it, it was really funny, and obviously very grateful that they gave us somewhere to sleep and something to eat. But it wasn't a fun experience at the time, and we were backpackers and we were poor and we didn't have any idea where to go because we didn't carry around a book for every country that we went to. We didn't have internet and phones and computers to look up anything, and it was raining and it was a bit pants, so I didn't really have fond memories of Venice. And then I went back again and it looks exactly the same and it was equally as busy, but it was nice in the evening and the food was very nice. But I'm not running to go back to Venice. I'm definitely not running to go back camping. I'm grateful for the experience, and I did enjoy going in the sea, but it's not my kind of holiday. I prefer like culture and like going to underground caves or climbing up a mountain or going to a museum about yarn or how pencils are made or something. I like more interactive. I don't really like sitting around on a beach, just relaxing. And I got eaten alive by mosquitoes and it was horrible. I had so many and they were so itchy. But yeah, it's over, it's done. And I'm home. I'm really happy to be home. And what else? And my mum is coming on Saturday, so we've got lots of things planned. Got gifts to gift. We're going to the yarn stores and more eating, and yeah, generally having fun. What else? Super random. Maybe you've switched off already, but I came across some vintage, I'm gonna call them vintage plates and little bowls. I love vintage things. As you might be able to tell, I like vintage clothing, vintage cups, saucers, teacups, teapots, plates, cutlery, all the things. I love them. I do have quite a few, but I really have to hold myself back from buying more. I need to get a new system where I can actually rotate it and use it. But I came across on our walk around the neighbourhood, someone had just left out some stuff they didn't want, and I took it in. And it's actually DDR cups, and not cups, like I think they're egg cups, and some smallish plates and little bowls, and they're beautiful. I love blue and white china, and it's DDR, so it feels very like another experience, another German experience. I actually went to the DDR museum and really liked it, but that was ages ago, like 5 years ago, and I feel like I need to go again to process the information all over again. I find it so fascinating, and then I immediately forget information. But I do this all the time. I do this with everything. And sometimes it's nice, like you read something and it's interesting all the time because it's new information, but I've already read it like 8 times. It should really sink in by now. But the history of Germany is fascinating. The history of World War II in Germany, history of DDR or GDR according to my plates. That one says German. So I'm assuming it was maybe made to distribute elsewhere, otherwise it would say Deutschland. I'm blabbing now, so I'm gonna stop talking. And I'm getting distracted because there are loads of birds out the window. But yes, that was a nice find. It was delightful. Somebody also left some pumpkins out, so we had those for dinner. That was marvellous. So basically, I'm really happy to be back in Germany, happy with my knitting, and I will continue knitting and bring you some more knitting in a couple of weeks whenever I record next. So thank you very much for watching, and if you got this far, well,